Welcome to the Builders Podcast, episode 87, AJ Saunders, writing niche content that sells, constructing great call to actions. Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share, if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable from the trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are rejoined with AJ Saunders. AJ, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back. I had such a good time last time that I just had to come back.
Yeah, you couldn't wait.
I couldn't wait.
I think you're. I think you were actually the fastest one to come back. I think you got the award. So I'll have to send it to you in the mail.
I'm cool. I'm not always that fast, by the way.
Wow, I can't wait to get back. I had so much fun. That's awesome, though.
Of course.
Yeah, it was like episode 82. Go check it out. We talked about his digital marketing story, his how he learned his craft. Talked a little bit about SEO and content strategies, and we felt like we just scratched the surface on those things. So we thought we'd reconvene and dig into those topics a little bit more from the perspective of, I think it's, as somebody that does content too on the social webs and markets content and creates content, even the builders' content. It's really important to our business. So, to understanding that process and what our experience is with that, you'll probably have some examples or whatever. And then we'll talk about the benefits of it, why we do it, and our experience. Sure. So where do you want to start with this? I'll give it to you, Mr. AJ Saunders.
So I guess the best jumping off point is just to say, if you're a small business and you're not creating content, let's just define what we mean by that, and then let's try and jump in. So for me, I'm a massive proponent of doing kind of blog content, so having a website with a blog. I know you're incredibly good at doing social posting. You do loads of great stuff on LinkedIn. Obviously, we've got this, which we're both appearing on today, which again is content. And so I think, if people think of content as like written stuff, they're partially correct, but they're not wholly correct. And so it's about trying to meet the medium with what you're good at. So for some people, video is what they're good at, and so they'll blow up on like TikTok, they'll blow up on YouTube, etc. Whereas for people like me, I'm much more a considered person, so I like to write. I know with you've got this whole kind of great art going in terms of what content you're publishing and when you're publishing it. And so you can really define like what content you make for your small little business by what fits your personality the best.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's that's key, right? It's figuring out what works best for you, what you're kind of good at, or what you feel comfortable doing too.
Yeah.
Some people, even though video is the hot big thing, and probably for reasons, it's
sure.
A lot more people are doing it today, and it gets good rankings and all that good stuff we can talk about. But at the same time, there's still room for regular content and blogging, and if that's your thing, that's what you can still do. And there's a lot of other platforms out there to write content, write articles, So do you yourself? You have your own blog, right?
I have about 8 blogs, but anyway, yeah.
At least one.
I have at least one. Yes, sir.
Around 8. And are those
Around 8.
Are those all niche blogs, or are they for your consulting business, for your SEO stuff, or what purposes do they serve, or just for other types of niches?
Right. So I'm trying to think. Right, so I have two kind of niche sites, another niche site, So that's 4. And then I have a consulting website, and then I have a website that doesn't have a blog. So that's 6. And then I have an interest project about a particular country that I'm interested in. And I've got some other domains that I'm going to turn to blogs when I get the 26th to the 27th hour in the day. We're currently negotiating with Colin with that, but...
Well, that's the challenge, though, right? You have all these different niche blogs. You have to be able to... I know somebody on Twitter that I follow, and he was kind of posing the question of, or his experience, like he's got a really, really popular blog website, right. And he doesn't want to have all his eggs in one basket, though. He wants to, like try to branch out and do this other thing, but it takes time. And he's got to still continue to maintain what he has, but find time to do that. And was he going to do it himself or build a team to do that? So how are you doing it all yourself, or are you outsourcing that content, or what you doing with that?
So I work with a couple of writers. I am working with our good friend Christina at the moment to build out processes in one business so that I can then scale that across everything, and so I can remove myself, like 99% of myself out of those businesses, so that I can just be light touch and not have to do too much. So that's been quite invasive and quite difficult, actually, in a lot of ways, because you think, you think in a small business, well, I'm the only person that can do that, or I may not be the best person to do this, but I know how to do it, so why don't I just keep doing it, right? And, then it becomes about how do you manage control over other people and over processes, and how do you then kind of document that stuff so it kind of, so you're not involved so much. So, a great story I said to a client last week, she was saying to me about something to do with email marketing, and I said, right, have you got that written out as an SOP? Because we spent 3 months writing out SOPs, essentially, right, with her. Oh, no, I've got it all off my head. I said, what happens if you get hit by number 5 bus tomorrow? And she goes, I'd be effed, wouldn't I? I was like, yeah.
It wouldn't matter for her.
No. So I said, would it be brilliant for you to write that out this afternoon? She was like, yeah. I said, okay, cool. Send me the email you've done that.
It's true in so many things, though. Like, you have to... And there's with content, there's an investment of either your time, or you have to outsource it to others, but you still have to manage that. You have to manage the content,
right? You
still have to, and then you can have people posting it for you, but you still have to manage those people. So you go from writing, doing the work, just like in my business of web design development, there was a time when I did everything, and now I don't do everything. And most of the time, I'm managing my team. I'm doing things a little bit in between, but a good majority of my time is just managing my team now. And it would be the same with the content team, or somebody that's distributing that content or posting that content, and scheduling and all that good stuff.
But that's why I think you have to define roles. So I think everybody starts off being, the editor, the writer, the graphic designer guy, all of these different things. And then you have to then kind of decide which you're going to give up and which you're going to sacrifice to give to somebody else so that you have more time back. And I imagine with you, you probably started off, 2 years ago doing everything. And then slowly you've hired people, and you've learned to trust them, they've learned to trust you, and then you said, right, can you take over this task? And they've done an adequate job, and you talked about it, and you said, here's how you can improve, and they've got dramatically better after a bit of coaching, and then, you scale it that way. And so by now you can, play with the dog, you can do these horrendous things with me where we sit and laugh at each other for an hour. Those types of things, right? That's why I love our, I could tell that anytime that I just need a break, I just call you up and we just laugh, because laughing is so good for us, and we could absolutely.
You're my new. So if I ever ping you, I'll be like, I need a good laugh. Let's talk. I'm having a rough day.
I'm there, darling. I'm there.
No, you said something. You said something interesting there. I mean, so I can relate it to my agency, but also from my days of building niche sites and content.
Right.
That there is, in the beginning, you do it yourself.
Yeah.
Especially when you got one blog and then you have another, but you're just going to try to do it yourself. But it's impractical that you're going to be able to scale anything up that way. But the other key here is actually the monetary side of it. So it's very easy to build out content that doesn't make money.
Yeah. Or
makes a little bit of money. So it's very easy to do that. You can post a lot of content that makes zero money. So going back to my niche marketing days, so for a big lesson for me was I had, in those days, I was doing all kinds of niche marketing, affiliate marketing, pay-per-click. I was doing SEO stuff. And I had built out this network of, I had embraced a system to build out quick niche sites in very specific, narrow niches, and get them, and they would rank real easy and all this stuff. And if they would rank real easy, would get good targeted traffic, and there was conversions in there, and so on and so forth. It wasn't a lot, but I'm like, well, I'll just scale this up. I'm going to hire somebody. I hired one or two people to just. I think one person was building the sites for me. Maybe the other one was building the content. But I had hired Philippines employees to do this for me for 6-9 months.
Right.
And they did a dynamic job. We had a good system. We had a good process in place to build these out. We built probably hundreds of these things. And but they didn't make much money.
Right.
And I had to pay these guys.
And you had to eat.
Yeah, we had to eat. It's very important. They were eating. So. They were eating really good.
They were fine. Yeah. Right.
How many times does that happen in business where your employees are doing great?
Yeah. And you're
you on the other hand,
yeah,
like credit card.
Yeah.
So, but the same way in my web design business, and this is a weird fact because I just had somebody on my podcast, Melaine, who, if you listen to that, she was $300,000 in debt with one of her businesses. And it took her 3.5 years. She said it took 3.5 years to make her first dollar. So that probably was all the debt and everything she invested in it.
Right.
But for me, it's like for this business, I was profitable day one.
Right.
Because I just worked for myself, and I was lucky enough to get work right away or know how to get work right away. But I was always profitable. So I didn't actually start. I would only outsource something if I could work out the profit there. Right. It was something in addition to what I was already doing. And then I would outsource another thing. And then eventually I got an employee because I had a contract that paid for her. Yeah. And another employee. And so I've always been profitable. But when I look back at my niche websites days, I should have never have hired those guys, because what I should have done is put in the work, got them profitable, and so it was able to pay for those guys, and then I could scale it from there. So I think that's maybe, I don't know if it's risk. I mean, there's certainly risk in business, and sometimes you have to take that risk if you want to test something out and try it out and invest and go in debt. But so that's kind of, it's interesting how I think, that's how I think about it. But enough about me. So what are your thoughts around that? What I just said there.
I see that, but I also see people doing things like they will start a niche site in something that they don't know about, and they'll hire lots of people that they don't know to do lots of things that they don't understand. It's the, I can't think of the John Cleese joke. It's the uneducated being led by the uncommitted, who are being financed by the incapable. Right? Is that whole kind of thing?
I don't think I've heard that one. I've heard a lot of quotes, but that's good.
But it's that whole kind of philosophy, right?
Yeah.
And so I do think, but I think with small businesses, like if you're doing content marketing, you're doing it in the right way, you were literally asking your customers, what are your pain points, and you're writing articles about that. And so if you've got one customer that has a problem with that, and you're writing a blog post, or you're doing a video, or you're doing a LinkedIn post, you can bet your bottom dollar that 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people have that problem. And therefore it's just about trying to then distribute your content in front of those people. Whereas I think, a lot of the more kind of riskier things that we've done, it's about trying to generate demand off the back of nothing when we don't understand if there is demand or not. And that's the risk we take.
Yeah, well, there's the other thing too here, right? It is like how you monetize it. And so that was a different model when I was building new sites. That was just crank stuff out and make what I could make. My model today is completely, again, I was profitable from the beginning, but the content I do make would build on that and would solve those problems. And but I like we talked about this, I think, on the first podcast together,
right?
Of how you construct that content. So there's good content, there's bad. You can't just write anything.
No.
So what is your process like to ensure that a article or post will be useful and actually garner some traffic that could convert?
Sure. So I think the main thing to always remember is what's the question the user wants, because the user comes to your site to solve a problem. So if we're thinking about, because we talked about dogs before, so I'm going to use a dog example. I hope there's no cat listeners out there who are going to get upset. But say
you just lost all the cat lovers.
I know. I'm sorry, Matt.
That's right.
Say you're having a problem with your dog, and you Googled how do I encourage my dog to go for longer walks, right? You don't want a history of dogs. You want that problem solved. And so you're willing to read maybe 1,000 words or 500 words or whatever, right, about how to get your dog more motivated to do longer walks. And then make them down to read time, make them down to, taking breaks, having water on hand to get them to stop, halfway through, blah, blah, blah. But, somebody's going to read that blog post, whereas they're not going to read a history about dogs before they get to that article. And so for me, it's about trying to remember what question you're solving, or the problem you're solving, how you can solve it in the quickest time possible, and then how you can then get context to that solution. So, if, an example I use, and I do apologise, is, if you had a dog that was peeing on your rock every day, right, and you went to Google and you said, how do I stop the damn dog peeing on my rock?
I can't believe, is pee a swear word?
No, but it's a vulgar question, is my, I'm bloody British, come on.
Pee, is that what you say?
Peeing, yes.
Piddling.
Piddling, right. That just sounds wrong, but anyway, you want to read an article where, that first kind of paragraph of the first section answers your question, and then it gives you some context of, different ideas, different methods, or, and,
solutions,
solutions, right? But also you want to do it so the average person won't read more than, 2 sentences in a paragraph. So you want to format things really, really loosely so that they're really easy to read. You want to have lots of subheadings, because, for me as a consumer, I scrub through posts and I try and find the solution to the question that I want the answer to. Yeah. Or I just scrub through the post and go, section 3 was the most interesting, right, let's start there. Whereas if you don't have that, people are going to just hit the back button and go back, and you're not going to get any traffic that converts. So I feel, short paragraphs, lots of subheadings, lots of images, lots of diagrams, lots of rich multimedia if you can. And just remember, the other thing that I always say, and I think I said this last episode, so sorry, but write like you're talking to a friend over a pint or over a coffee. Unless you're writing something highly technical, like, you're a doctor, it has to be worded in a certain way because of all the legality involved. Mm-hmm. Talk to somebody like you talk to somebody at the pub. Obviously, clean it up a little bit. At the pub. You tell them British, can't you?
At the tavern, at the bar, wherever you are.
At the bar, yeah.
At the pub, yes.
So yeah, but because I think what makes your content great versus my content being great is that we have a different way of saying things. And so neither of us is right or wrong, but it's just we connect with different types of people.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the voice that you use and how you explain things. So, like, for me, as a fairly posh Englishman, as I'm often reminded by so many people, I don't talk much in slang or much in swear words, although I do swear like a sailor. Anyway, but
we'll try to get through this whole episode without you swearing. We can do it.
Right. I definitely can, but sure. but does that make sense? So, a good friend of mine, Claire, uses lots of slang, lots of swear words. She's Scottish, and she's absolutely fantastic, but she attracts a different type of person. And I think, if you're working in a really, really segmented market or a market that's really highly competitive or that's highly boring, the more interesting your voice is as a human being, the more likely you are to attract different and interesting projects to your door.
So, I have a lot to say on this.
Right.
No, I love. Thank goodness. That would have been the end of the podcast right there.
Yeah.
Something I learned way back, 2004-ish, somewhere around there.
Right.
And why do I want to think it was called Sell It? Sell It still around? Sell It, I think it was. And I don't know why I think it's... No, I don't think it's... Huh?
I said, was it the follow-on to Bop It?
Follow it?
Bop It? Do you remember the Bop It toy? Anyway.
I don't think we got that here in Wisconsin. Bop It toy.
It's a toy you hit and you go Bop It.
No, we
anyway.
completely missed that whole thing over here. But I'm very curious. You're going to have to show me what a Bop It toy is now.
I will. Ironic, Seth Meyers reminded me of it, on SNL, so there you go. Anyway.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so sell it. I don't know. I don't think it's around anymore. I don't see it on here. I did a quick Google search. But there was something related to it. It could have been linked off to it. But it was about conversational writing. And, it was one of the first things I learned online. Like cause I was doing a lot of writing reports and ebooks and articles and blogs and over those years.
Yeah.
And conversational writing really struck a chord with me. And it's how I still approach a lot of my content today. I don't think about it structurally. I think about how it looks on the web too. Like it really shouldn't be a break here in the paragraph. It shouldn't go to a second paragraph, but it's the web and it's easier to read if we go to a second paragraph. So all that stuff, learning all that copywriting stuff. But one of the things that is also the benefit in that is that your personality shines through that.
Yeah.
And like you're talking about, not everyone's going to like you. They're not going to like your writing style. They're not going to like, but that's how you stand out and you gather your tribe. That's why video is so powerful. I think if somebody's listening to me, they got a screw loose. And so I got to find the people out there that have a screw loose too and like my content.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what you, and I love how you put it, like, you make it easy to read. It has to, speak to what they landed there for. And then, kind of help, cause I'm a scanner. I scan content too. Like I read a lot of content and I'll, if it really grabs me and it's interesting, I'll read it, but a lot of times it's like, look at those headings. So the more headings, the better, that's,
of course,
that's why I like a lot of like news and stuff. I scan the news, but there's nothing that grabs my attention. I'm just reading blocks of, a wall of text.
Blocks. Yeah.
But then it's also this, so you're writing this content, great, you're answering their question, but you have to, now, just like, with pay-per-click advertising or SEO and choosing keywords, every keyword kind of has its own little, I like to call personalities. And,
right.
Some are tire kickers and some are just looking for information. They want to learn the history of something. But you also have to, write content for people, that not only answers the question, but you can also have an offer there, right? Towards the end of that, like it should lead into something like you don't want to fully answer their question necessarily. Sometimes you will. Maybe they become a fan and join, get your newsletter or something. But you want that. Do you think about that a lot in terms of how it's structured to funnel into like an offer or to get more information or lead them off to something to get a free report or something like that? How do you approach that? I guess running a digital marketing agency, I don't think about like trying to keep secrets back. But what I try and remember to do is keep the implementation back, right? So I'm quite happy to give the farm away, but I want the keys to the tractor, right? Because you may be able to plow the fields without me, you may be able to do everything, but you won't do everything at the speed that I can show you how to do it. And so, no matter how many, blog articles I've read or written about, like email marketing, for example, right? Nothing is as good as actually having done, hundreds of email campaigns over a decade, right? Nothing can substitute that, and so nothing can substitute what's going to work. So that's how I look at that. So I don't look at kind of gating content or keeping content, behind the scenes essentially. But I do think about, the magic that I bring to the table is the fact that I can implement faster and quicker and more strategically. And I think, if you're in a garage, you can teach people how to change a tire, right? But I bet you 9 times out of 10 they're going to go, I tried it, it didn't work, I'll sod it, you do it, right? And they'll pay you to do it. Yeah. Even though you showed them exactly the same steps that you're going to follow. So the goal of your content is to kind of build that authority.
Right.
One, I can answer this question for you, but and by the end of it, they're like, that's great. Can you do it for me though?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's why in the last kind of couple of months, did I say this last time? I think I might have done. So I've moved from using quite generic CTAs, so call to actions. So, like, if you're struggling with your SEO, give us a call, to what I now call sexy. I know. Sexy CTAs, right? So sexy CTA would be something like, last month Matt doubled his search traffic using 3 tips we showed him. Want to be like, Matt, book a call, right? Because that's far sexier, isn't it, than saying, if you're struggling with SEO, give us a call, right?
Yeah.
And so so I'm now experimenting, on my sites and with client sites, about how to really make the CTA at the end of the blog really sexy and how to make it really magnetic. And so obviously that then creates a different problem because you're trying to use different CTAs for different blog kind of posts. So if you're doing like blog posts about like say SEO, you want to use something that's related to SEO for the CTA. Email marketing, obviously you want to do.
For someone that's not familiar with what CTA is, that's a call to action, correct?
So it's a call to action, right?
How would you define it? Like, what is a good CTA?
So, to me, a good CTA is something that inspires somebody to take an action. So, you'll probably see, book here, or, download a free report. And those are really, really basic CTAs, and really, really kind of boring CTAs. Whereas, you can then go to something like, let me show you 3 tips to let me send you a report that highlights the three problems that most car owners miss, but cost them the most money. That kind of thing, right? That's really sexy because that actually, makes you want to click on that to then go into the report or to go and have that next step. And so I think it's just about trying to trying to come up with CTAs or the next step, if you want to call it even simpler, what is the next step you want that person to take, and how can you inspire them to take that next step?
And that's the whole idea behind a website, right? Is it's
correct.
Not just to attract traffic; it's to lead them to the next step.
Yeah.
And it should be obvious. It should be simple. Attract attention. Like even the color of the button matters, right?
Yeah.
And it's something you can experiment with, right? It's not always, you like a lot of things on the web. It's like you can, think you have an idea and you're like, everyone's going to sign up for this. Why wouldn't they? It's awesome. This is great content. This is what I want to know.
Yeah.
And you put it up there and not a single person signs up for that report.
Yeah.
How do you ensure, do you create, is testing and trying things, or do you have like just experience knowing that this type of report works for, I think it's different for every niche and every industry, every whatever, what works and what doesn't work. But is there like a go-to, if I'm going to set up a CTA today for my blog or my website or my services, where do you start? Do you create that report, or do you create a little course that they can sign up for, or what kind of incentive do you?
Right. This is, yeah. So I necessarily wouldn't go and do that. So my first step would be to go and look at other brands I admire and see what they're doing to like CCN and steal some of their ideas. Or I would go and look at what everybody else in the industry is doing and then try and find something completely different. So if everybody in the web design industry is doing click here for a free SEO audit, and that it's going to be garbage, it's going to be one of these automated tools that doesn't tell you anything, right? Or what it tells you is probably useful if you have a degree in SEO, right?
Yes.
So I would then shift it and do something completely different. So I would then, so if I'm able to use you as an example, I might do something like, click here to, most small businesses struggle to market their website effectively because of these three reasons. Don't be dumb, download this report. Something like that, right? And those three reasons could be something like, they aren't optimizing for keywords, they're not posting out on social, they're not building backlinks, and the bonus tip could be something simple like they're not building internal links.
Yeah.
Right? All of these really simplistic stuff. But again, you're not giving them anything that they can't find out already, but just how you're doing it and how you're packaging it is attractive.
Right. And so, that has to be it, yeah. I mean, because you can find anything free on the web. It's just making it convenient or packaging it in a certain way.
Exactly.
And I love what you said about going and looking at other websites in your industry or in that niche, because that's, I don't know if everybody thinks of it doing that first, but it's a great way to, you're not going to steal somebody's idea. I mean, there's certain things you can't steal. I mean, everyone's doing it. But if you can find what's working for this established agency or whatever, right? Yeah. But
I don't mean to interrupt. But for me, one thing that I've done quite a lot this year is I've gone and said, right, why isn't X performing very well? And I've gone and I've looked at 20, 30, 40 pages. And I've literally just taken screenshots of what the similarities are, and then had that as like a swipe file.
Nice.
And then I've exactly. And I've gone through and gone, okay, right, well, that everybody seems to have a CTA button at the top right. Right, can I, why do I think that website hasn't? Do I think that they can improve their sign-up rates if they did? And it's all this testing, all this experimentation, it's all this kind of research that you then hopefully you end up landing on something that makes a lot more kind of sense in terms of where you're going and where everybody else who spent the money, believe me, they spent the money, and then you just gain the best practice. So that when you roll it out on your site, you should have instant wins because you're not thinking, you're just seeing the best practice. Or borrowing best practice, shall I say. Borrowing.
Don't be boring.
Don't be boring.
It's sometimes you say things like, and it just like took me back
Right.
You don't hear people saying swipe file very often anymore. I haven't for a long time.
I've been in the game longer than I care to admit. Right?
Yeah. Well, I remember...
Just like you.
But I just remember back, because I used to study copywriting a lot.
Sure.
And I think that's where it was. We talked a lot about swipe files, and we just copy people's sales pages and use those as just examples or like the framework for something we're building. Or I did all my own sales pages and stuff, and so we use swipe file or just websites in general. So that's jumped. I haven't heard swipe in a long time.
Okay.
That's good. It's good. I don't know what
I'll send you a gift later.
Send me your swipes.
Send me your swipe file. But yeah, so I do think if you have content on your website that isn't performing, think about keyword mapping, think about best practice, think about what other people are doing in your industry, and there's lots of things that people are doing in common. It must be because they spent the money to do the research to figure out that it works. If there's lots of things that people are doing that you find are boring, then try and think of something unique to do. So if everyone's giving away a free report with 5 tips, can you think of another way to, can you repurpose one of those free reports as like a quiz, like a 10 question quiz, right, that leads to the same outcome, right?
Yeah.
These sorts of things. Can you do something, or can you record like a short presentation of those 5 tips where you walk somebody through the 5 tips and then use that as a webinar that then people can sign up for? It's obviously recorded, so you're not actually using your time, but can do that like in between, when they sign up and book a call. It's all these things that you can think about that you can be creative with, that doesn't take a lot of time, effort, or money. It's just creativity, which is
that's key.
Can be a problem.
Yeah, that's key. I think that's key. Anytime I've sat, so I have all, like a lot of places I'd like to drop a CTA, but you don't have to build out a 25-page report or this huge. It doesn't have to be this huge deal. Like one of my favorite things to do is just to create like just a follow up, with 3 tips or a short course, you might call it. Yeah, and it's literally just daily. It just sends out a daily, those daily, and you can do like 2 or 3, and just to see if you can snag some people and get them to snag. If you can snag some people and reel them in, and if it works, you can expand on that. Now you can continue. Now, because you don't have to, because you can create follow-ups, you can create all this stuff, you can do all, but you don't want to do that before you know if this is going to work, the content's going to work. And I think that even though you are looking to other people's ideas and stuff, you're still going to have to test it. I had absolutely for unified web design, I had to. I started out with a completely different design. Then I changed the design because I took this course, and it was from a guy that had an agency, and this is how he basically captured names, got clients or got prospects or whatever by having them sign up to, or basically to learn about their pricing. What is it? How did it word it? Get our pricing guide or whatever. And and then I would take them to a page with our pricing. I did that for quite a while. And then I'm like, it works pretty good, but I think the people that were like signing up for it were actually people that were just curious what my pricing was, probably other agencies. And then I tried something else for a little while. I think it was just the report. And that really wasn't working. And now, like I said, I don't remember if I said it on this podcast today, but I'm doing Calendly, and that's working really well. We're getting some good referrals that way. But I look at other people, like I have a partner that they have an agency website where they have a free offer, 3 customized growth ideas.
Right.
Something very unique. It's just simple. You got to kind of, so it's something you got to test, but because it depends, right? I mean, you're SEO guy. It depends on all traffic is it has different flavors, different, because it works for them. You may not be getting the same traffic. You may not have, they might, because some traffic's more pre-sold than other traffic, more, they are, depends on the source of that traffic. And like somebody like me, I'm doing a lot of content on social media. So there's traffic coming from there that kind of already know about us, and so they're pre-qualified a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. But that's,
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, I think like with SEO especially, I think you don't want to. You do want to think about the input, but you also want to think of the output as well. So, like, you having Calendly link, hopefully, you know, and maybe we talk about this after, is hopefully you then have, like, an email sequence that goes to them. So when they book an appointment, you then say, you know, the first email says something like, you know, thank you for booking an appointment, I'm Matt, I'm the owner, this is what we do, blah, blah, blah. The second email says, right, we help these types of business. If you're not, no sweat, don't worry, just hit this button here and you'll cancel your appointments, right? Because you want those people to remove themselves, right, out of your funnel.
Right. So, yeah, so the stage I'm in with that is it works. And now, I have, because, right, I mean, I just talked about, like, just create 2 or 3 follow-ups, and now, okay, does that work? Okay, now move on to the next thing. But for me, it's like, okay, that works. Now, how can I improve it? One of the things, there's a technique that, you might have seen before, right?
Sure.
That I've seen used, and I think it's very clever, and Calendly is pretty powerful. Calendly is very powerful in that you can, have it redirect after somebody subscribes or whatever, or sets the event or whatever. And so I've been taken to a landing page with a video on the top.
Right.
You know, with that person now with a short message, 1 or 2 minute message.
Right.
And maybe a little bit of content, some resources. So boom, you right out of the gates, before they even talk to you, and you could set it up to where they get to know you a little bit more in that video. Yeah. And so before they hop on the call, they already know a little bit more about you too, or what to expect. Yeah. So there's a lot of things around that too.
And that's probably a differentiating factor in terms of your industry, right? Because I doubt many people are actually doing that.
I don't know.
That is your superpower, my friends.
It's very cool. I mean, I don't know how many people are doing that, but when I saw that, I'm like, that's really good. I mean, it takes extra time to do that, and
right.
And I'm seeing so many cool uses of like Loom and stuff to send a. I had somebody I've had a couple people do this where they communicate, especially in the podcast world, where they communicate with a Loom video instead of sending you an email, a text email. Yeah. They just create like a 1 or 2 minute Loom video, and they say, "Hey, Matt, you know, it was great meeting you today," or whatever. It's just it goes back to like we're talking about conversational writing and that article. You know, if it can go beyond just being the content. It can establish who you are and what your style is. And good stuff. Anything else you want to add to this? We've already time flies when we talk, man.
I know. I have so much fun. No, just just if you have digital marketing problems and you need to come talk to somebody about them, come talk to me. I do a 2-hour consultancy for $500. So come talk to me. More than happy to help you. So you do
consultancy. Like, who's your avatar? Who are the person can you help the most? Like, is it small businesses? Is it a particular type of business that you work with a lot or have had great success with?
Right. So the 2-hour kind of consulting VIP session is literally for any small business who's struggling with digital, because if you don't have somebody that you can trust that can talk you through what you're struggling with, you know, it can be difficult. So hopefully by doing these sorts of things, people will get to know me, like me, and trust me. And so yes, that 2 hour is for anyone. Anyone can go and hire me for those 2 hours and listen to me yabber on for 2 hours, which I know is probably quite a tall order, but hey. But then my main kind of day-to-day clients are small to medium-sized e-commerce companies that are trying to do something interesting.
Yeah.
and having digital marketing problems that they need somebody to come in and help them with. And that's essentially what I do.
Nice. And you got a website, AGS Digital Group.
.com, yeah.
.com.
Yeah.
I used to always have I'd create jingles for my websites. I had one of my first websites. My first website was an insurance website, but then I created this business website. It was called webofopportunity.com.
Right.
Yeah, this was back in 2003, 4. And
right.
I would always say webofopportunity.com. I was my wife probably thought I was crazy. But what are you? That's my jingle.
That's your jingle. Yeah. I think that could be your retirement career. You had voiceovers.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. That's yeah.
I'll take 10% of everything you make for giving me that idea.
You got it. Yeah, done now. Don't hold her, bro. I don't think. When I start singing for a living, we're all in trouble.
Can I say one final thing? I've left the last minute for no reason at all. But can I encourage people who are listening to this not to go and listen to my first one? Obviously you can, but to go listen to Al Wagner, the guy who does payroll.
Albert Wagner.
That interview, Albert, yeah. That interview, he said two really key things that have changed how I approach networking.
It's a great episode. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a great episode. Well, that's all I'm going to say.
Tease it, yes.
Tease it.
It really was.
But
it was.
that is an incredible episode. So thank you for sharing that with us. But also, if you haven't gone and listened to that, please go listen to that, because I think it will change your, how you do networking. It will change your life.
Oh man, that actually, I got to tell Al that. But actually, I think I'm going to see him today. He has a quick connect. He has a quick connect event that he does. I haven't been at it for months.
Right.
I did 3 or 4 of them. But I should send you a link. You could hop in one of those.
Yeah,
but he's a great guy, and you're right, because after that conversation, that was last year, and early this year, I really made a decision that networking was going to be a super, I was going to double, triple down on it, because I realized that it has made a huge impact, even not thinking about it. And if I think about it more and do more, like the quick connect networking events and stuff. But his ideas around it though are, there's some aha moments in there that you can walk away with for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you, AJ.
Thank you, Matt.
We're going to schedule a part 3 right away.
Sure.
Let's keep it going.
We'll get going.
I always thought I would have, when I envisioned the Builders podcast, started having guests, I always planned, I want to have regulars come back. We might wait a few months. We don't want people to get tired of us here.
No, not at all. But hey.
But no, it's awesome having you. Thanks, Builders crew, for listening in. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this episode's page, provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, or inquire about being a guest, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you're interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.